But I'd like to introduce Jim Randel. He is a real estate lawyer, broker, Connecticut, East Coast. So big smile and a big round of applause, please, for Mr. Jim Randel.
Thank you, Dougal. Am I on here? No? Now am I? Okay. Dougal, thank you for inviting me to your organization. It's a pleasure to be here. This is an impressive room. The last time I was in a room like this, I was in law school trying my best not to be noticed by the professor. So this brings back sort of scary memories. My background, I guess it was on your website. I am educated as an attorney. I went to an Ivy League law school, and it's important for me to say right up front that in the real estate world, the entrepreneuring world, in the street, that means a big zilch. Real estate entrepreneuring, what we're going to talk about tonight, is really about what's inside you. It's about your heart, your guts, your persistence, your creativity, your street smarts. And so, you know, if you meet an Ivy League lawyer like me, means nothing. I'm a guy who's been buying and selling investment property for 25 years. I've had some enormous years where there were 7 figures at the bottom of my tax return. And I've also had some years where there's a negative number at the bottom of my tax return, and that's not a good thing. And I'm here this evening to help you understand some of the things that made my deals successful and some of the mistakes I made so that you don't copy the mistakes and hopefully do imitate the successes. Now, why did I write this book? I didn't hear the beginning of Dougal's introduction, so I don't know if he mentioned. I wrote a book, came out last year, called Confessions of a Real Estate Entrepreneur. Why in heaven's name would somebody write a book? Well, I'd been doing this for a long time, and one night I'm watching television, and I see one of these infomercials late at night. And here's some guy on a yacht off the coast of Hawaii with all sorts of beautiful people waiting on him. And he says, you know, just 2 years ago, I was holding down 3 jobs, living in my car, and now I discovered real estate, now look at me. And I'm just wincing and throwing stuff at the TV, but he's just going on and on and on. And these guys make a living because people believe it. Some of these guys make a very, very good living. And I'm here to tell you it's not true. I'm sort of the anti-infomercial. I'm here to tell you that you can make a lot of money from real estate, but there's risk. There's no guarantee. It's hard work. You better be the kind of person who can persevere, because for sure you're going to have some times when you need to persevere. We're going to talk more and more about that. I'd like everyone in this room to be rich. It'd be great. But I want you to get there, if you get there, with your eyes open, because I really also don't want you to get poor. And so what I'd like to talk about is some of the risk rewards. Yeah, there's a lot of money to be made in investment real estate, and there's a lot of different ways to do it, a lot of different ways to play what I call the real estate game. But there's risk, there are pitfalls, there's dangers and hazards to be avoided. And the more you know, the more likely you are to be successful and the less likely to have a problem. It's like I sometimes think Tiger Woods, greatest golfer maybe of all time, he knows what to do when he's in a difficult situation. He knows what club, how to swing it, all the things that most of us don't have a clue. Well, it's sort of similar when you're a real estate entrepreneur, knowing what to do in all the different situations. The real estate world is your course, if you will. And that's what I preach. I preach educate yourself, not by going to some prestigious university, irrelevant. Read books, go to sessions like these, talk to people, find a mentor, try a deal, a careful, safe deal, because there's no better way than to learn by doing. Be aware of the risks, talk to as many people you can talk to, find a successful example to imitate and mimic, These are the things that I think I'd like you to start thinking about. So let's define what I mean by real estate entrepreneur. An entrepreneur in Webster's dictionary is somebody who mixes risk and effort to create wealth. And that's what a real estate entrepreneur does. Now, I distinguish from somebody who takes a passive position in real estate. Somebody who perhaps is a limited partner in somebody else's deal or buys some stock in an REIT. That, to me, is not a real estate entrepreneur. A real estate entrepreneur is somebody who takes an ownership interest in a piece of real estate, rolls up his or her sleeves, and tries to create a lot of wealth, a multiple on their investment. That's what I consider to be a real estate entrepreneur. Now, how are we going to get from here to there, to the successful real estate entrepreneur? That's what we're going to talk about tonight. What we're going to do first and foremost, our first headline is, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's look at what people who've been successful for years and years ahead of you have done. Let's copy it. Let's imitate it. Let's apply it to our current location, time, and deal. But let's figure out, what did these people do that made them successful, and let's figure out how to do it ourselves. Now, again, I'm going to keep this as a refrain you'll hear throughout the evening. There are no guarantees in this game. But, in my opinion, success is not an accident. We can increase your probability of success by highlighting and talking about and understanding those things that have made many people ahead of you millions and millions of dollars. And if we can sort of isolate those and figure out what they are, then we're going to increase your probability of success. In my book, I write about added value investing. By that I mean you've got an interest in a piece of real estate, you've invested X. How can we dramatically and quickly increase that X to a multiple of X? How are we going to add value? That's what I write about. Now, in this 260-page book, we can only, in our time tonight, talk about a slice of it. By the way, Dougold suggested I speak for an hour. I wouldn't do that to you. At this time of night, I think that's too long, but I will stay outside in the hall to whoever wants to talk or questions or whatever. I'm happy to do that, but probably I'll end at about 45 minutes, and you could help me if I start going on too long, just kind of rub your eyes or something. I'm very intuitive. I'll pick up on that. That'll let me know. All right, so we can't cover a 260-page book in 30 or 40 minutes, but we can take a slice of it. And here's the slice that I want to take tonight. This is the theme of our conversation tonight. Adding value to real estate, there's a whole spectrum of ways to do it. At one end, you find a piece of raw land, you build the building, hopefully you get a tenant or tenants, or you resell it, you get good financing, all the things fall into place, you make a lot of money. And of course, as you know, there's a lot of very, very wealthy real estate developers in the United States, the most visible of which is our good friend Donald Trump. At the other end of the spectrum, there's a whole different approach to adding value to real estate. And that approach is what I want to focus on tonight. So here's the high risk, high reward real estate development, ground up. Here's the other end. And at this end, which I think is a safer way to introduce yourself to investment real estate and real estate entrepreneuring, is what I call adding value with the minimum change to the real estate. We're not going to knock down a building, put up a new one. We're not going to make wholesale physical changes to a building. We're not going to wipe out all the tenants in a building and re-rent the building. We're not going to try to get a zoning approval for a new type of use. That's all at the right end of the spectrum. We're going to try to figure out what can we do with the minimum changes to the property and yet still boost its value. All right?